welcome back to my sister's kitchen. Today, I'm going to be starting a new series called In the Bucket List, where I take the time and the effort to make things like mead, kombucha, beer, root beer, all the drinks that take time because you have to ferment it in a bucket. So follow along with me on this interesting and new journey as I try and make what's first on my bucket list, blueberry mead. So I'll show you the process from beginning to end, including bottling and sanitizing, and even include updates on how it's going and how long it takes, and then anything I would change or do differently, and just follow along on this adventure with me. So come on, let's start at the sanitizing. Okay, to start, I'm using a packet of sanitizer, and as you can see, it's a half packet for a gallon of water, save the other half for bottling. So I'm gonna take this, and basically you're going to be sanitizing everything you're going to use. This, that's about half. Yeah, that's about half. And just dump it in there, and I'm going to stir. And what I did is I actually heated up the water to make sure it was nice and warm. And I'm totally fine with using this rubber spatula in the sanitizer because I'm going to need it to mix up the blueberry mead. Next, now that the sanitizer is dissolved in this packet, I'm going to take some of it. Oop, that's hot. And I am just going to take my sanitizing liquid and pour some in over the equipment for the buoy. So that's the spout, that's the stopper, and that's the, oh, brain fart. It's the part of the equipment, the airlock. There we go. So basically it'll end up bubbling and boiling and off-gassing that area. Roll that around in there. And next, I'm gonna move to the sink to clean out the buoy part. So as you can see, I have my giant container. I'm going to move hot pot of sanitizer over here. I'm going to ladle this in. I'm going to try really hard not to stick my hands inside the hole. Basically, I'm going to spin it around as best as I can, because you want to avoid getting your hands inside the tank. Oops. And there we have it. Now to set up the mead. Now with clean hands, you want to make sure that your hands are washed. I'm going to take my nozzle, make sure it's off before I insert it, so I don't have to worry about that later. And I'm going to stick my spigot in. Next, I'm going to get the seal for the inside, attach that best of my abilities. The seal feels really, really slimy and sticky. And I don't mean like slimy as in bad slimy. I mean more as in the sanitizer makes it feel kind of slickery. The other thing we want to do is to make sure that our airlock is all set and ready to go as well. In our airlock, I've added a little bit of water, and then there's a fill line right about here that I'm gonna put extra water in, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's get that going. Next, I'm going to pour in 3 pounds of honey. Honey is the sugar that the yeast feeds off of, converts the sugar to alcohol. And this is just raw unfiltered honey. Surprisingly, this 3 pounds was not that expensive. It was about $13. And I'm just gonna keep letting this drain until it all comes out. Meanwhile, the blueberries are still thawing and we have to mash those down as well. So when we come back, hopefully I have all the honey in and we'll mash some blueberries. Get the rest of the honey out. I just filled it with 2 cups of warm water. as part of the 1 gallon of water we're gonna need. Just giving it a good shake. Try and get all that honey off of there. There we go. So here I have 3 pounds of frozen thawing blueberries. Some people swear by using fresh. Some people say frozen works better because the water in the fruit compound and bonding when it freezes, and it basically tears it apart. So as it thaws, it creates more juices and better blueberry flavor for your mead. So this is gonna take me a moment. So we'll skip to where I added to the honey. Now we have mashed blueberries. How did I do it while they're still frozen? I used a pastry cutter because it was too cold for my hands to squeeze them. Anyways, so now I'm gonna add that to the honey, add the remaining water, and then I'm going to add the yeast. And we'll find out what our starting sugar is. So I'm actually gonna add 2 quarts of water and make a mess all over my kitchen at the same time. And just kind of give the honey a good stir to kind of help start dissolving it. Make it a little easier before we add the blueberries in. Now some people might throw their fruit in a bag. I am not, because I don't have one of those fancy bags. So I'm just gonna throw the blueberries in as they are. And hopefully nothing goes wrong. Other than a giant mess. I'm trying not to touch any of this, so don't add any extra bacteria to this because yeast is weird. Just like sourdough, you can have sourdough that's 100 years old from several different places and they'll all taste different because of the bacteria in that area. So I'm just trying to make sure that I give this blueberry mead the chance that it needs without adding any extra yeast microbials to it. I got my yeast. It's 2.5 ounces. I'm gonna add it to 25 milliliters of warm water. You don't want it too hot, otherwise it will make it really, basically because yeast is live, you'll kill it. So just gonna mix that up a little bit, pour that in. Next, I'm gonna add 1.5 grams of Go Firm. And basically that's just yeast food. Ooh, it stinks. It stinks. Oh my goodness, it stinks. It's like very small amounts. Okay, throw that in. And we'll actually add more of the food. You wanna do it at 24 hours and 48 hours as well. Let's stir that up. If you ever watch Golden Hive Mead, he also throws a pectin enzyme to clear the haziness. Mine is just gonna be hazy, which I don't really mind. I like hazy beers anyways. Next, I'm gonna throw in some more water to get me up to 1 gallon. You wanna make sure that you don't overflow this. And because there's blueberries in here, the amount of water is gonna vary. 3. I could probably fit 1 more in here. Giving it a good stir. I'm gonna add a little more water and we'll get the top on. Before I put the top on, we're going to take what's called a Brix reading, and basically we're measuring the sugar. You can do this with a hydrometer, and basically you're measuring the specific gravity, and that tells you what your alcohol content is gonna be. So I'm gonna stick this down in here, a pipette, get a little bit. I've already calibrated my Brix to 0. I used to deal with these when I worked in food. So now I'm gonna read the sugar, and it gives me, let's see, the Brix percent is 22.5. So at start, our Brix is 22, and that basically is the sugar percentage. And my specific gravity wort is 1.095. And I'm writing that down because later when it ferments, you'll want to know what it is so you can verify your sugar content to know what your alcohol per volume is going to be. And I'll show you the airlock. The other reason you take a specific gravity reading later on when you are checking it to see if it's not fermenting anymore, basically you're going until it no longer changes. Okay. So as you can see, I'm putting the lid on. Okay, there we go. So this is a fermenting cap. And basically what happens as this ferments, the bubbles travel up and cause us to burp. And basically I put a little bit of sanitizer in here and then filled the rest with water. That way when it burps, nothing bad is gonna go back in here and turn it rancid. Now that this is done, we're gonna wait 24 hours, give it a stir and some more food, and we'll do it again in 48 hours as well. So it's been about 24 hours and this is now time for the second feed. So I'm gonna go ahead and carefully unscrew the lid. I have my food I've already pre-measured. It's another 1.5 grams. Woo, okay. Put that down on the counter and this is what it looks inside. I'm just gonna give it a stir. Woo. I'm going to throw that food in there and stir it up and put the lid back on. You can see it's bubbly in there. Woo. It has a weird smell to it. Not a bad smell, but definitely can tell it's a fermenting item. Stirring it down. I'll put the lid back on and tomorrow I'll feed it one last time before it sits for about 2 to 3 months. Okay, so you can see that this is fermenting really well. Every time that moves up and down, it's off-gassing. Now that it's been 48 hours, now it's time to add the last batch of food and let it ferment for a while. Okay, unscrew. Woo! You can already tell it's fermenting. It's a very, very, very strong smell. Give this a nice stir. I'm gonna throw in the food. Make sure you get it all in there. Make the yeast happy. It's definitely got that fermented sour smell that you get. Now that it's stirred up good, we're gonna put the lid back on. We'll check back in on it in about a week to kind of show you what it looks like. So it's been a little over 2 weeks because today is the 26th. As you can see, there's not as much air bubbles up here. You can see that there's a lot of sediment down there, and then it's not gassing as much. But in about another week, I'm gonna start doing what they call Brix tests to see on a daily to see if it's stopped, and then from there we can transfer it and let it sit for another month. So hopefully that's what we'll be doing in part 2.